welcome to Confronting the Darkness. I'm Rob Jacobs.
And I'm Father Bob Bailey.
On this episode of Confronting the Darkness, we have two guests once again via our telephone on speakerphone, Kenneth and Farah Rose Deel. Welcome, guys.
Hey, hi there.
Thank you. Nice to say hi to you guys tonight.
Yes. We had such a great time with you in the other episode. We had to have you back again.
All right, ready to go.
With the spiritual warfare and the shared knowledge, it's great to get this information out to people. What I'd like to talk about tonight, if you'd like to, you've written a few books, the Catholic Demonologist, the Christian Demonologist, and you mentioned the Haunting Self-Help Guide. So I'm going to put it to you, Ken, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the Catholic Demonologist first.
Okay, well, the Catholic Demonologist Handbook I wrote originally in 2007, and there's a lot of people that were waiting for it, so I thought, you know what, I'll figure out a way to self-publish it. I meant literally self-publish it right off my printer, so I called that one the Underground Edition.
Which I have a copy of.
Yes, it was the red cover one.
Yep.
I've got the blue cover.
Not there. And it was, it went out, about 150 copies sold because I had MySpace and IamHaunted.com to promote it. So it was amazing. The early days of social media was instrumental in doing that. We just took PayPal payments, and that worked really well. And then finally we got it published, and now it's available online, and we sell signed personal copies and so forth. But that was the catalyst, I think, for the whole thing. And I really tried to cram it with everything. But then as I, went on, I realized I could have added more, so I started putting supplement pages up on the website, CatholicDemonologist.com. And so when I finally got the published version out, I actually added it in, the published version. I think it was something about the Purgatory Ghost prayers that was very successful, and, that teams have been reporting in my own history that I know of for, non-demonic entities and so forth, which don't seem to happen all that often. People complaining about, ghosts that are of that nature, where we get called in, as you know.
Right.
So that kind of spawned the other books, and, I really didn't write and complete any of them except the handbook needed a kind of a workbook and study guide. I wanted something that would kind of allow the the reader to review what they've learned and to solidify what they've learned in the pages better, and sort of test their knowledge in the beginning, and then go over each question. And it was, I turned it into sort of like a course.
There's a couple of things in the Catholic Demonologist I really liked. You start off and you make it clear to the reader that you're not an exorcist, first of all. And secondly, that by reading the book will not make somebody a demonologist, which I think is important, because so many people may pick it up, or not just your book, but any book dealing with demonology, and with just little knowledge, start to believe that they have enough knowledge to do that sort of thing. So I think it was great that you pointed those out in the book right off the bat.
Demonologist
I think we need to make it bigger, Father, because there's too many people that take our books or other books, and then they go online, and for like $6, $7, they buy their instant Reverend, instant Doctor Divinities, and they're like, I'm a demonologist, and I exorcise demons. It's like, oh, merciful heavens.
I mean, it's the newest thing now. First it was paranormal investigation, then it was sensitive or mediums, and now the new thing is demonologist and exorcist now.
/ minister too, the ULC thing, those are the big titles now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but ever since, I've been helping Kenny with some of the web presence for Swords of St. Michael, and even back when I joined, the flailing one that had, been run into the ground, I have seen a lot of knockoff groups, basically mimicking what the Swords of St. Michael was originally intended for, basically to be an armor of God, coalition of members that were, pious. It was in their own level of Christianity that, helped other people, and it's really, we're seeing a lot of dissension out there instead of unity, a lot more dissension than unity, and it's all, like you said, in the name of popularity.
Yeah. And and that's the one thing, even going, associated with paranormal groups as we have been, and that's how we began, by trying to assist them and help them with their negative findings, that I notice it's all that, it's dissension. And, when you're dealing with this kind of, with spirits, with demons,
battle,
the devil is all about divide and conquer, and about pride.
Yep.
And unless you are constantly vigilant about that, and also to realize that, and also to pray, it's going to happen. And that's why all these groups splinter and splinter. What's it all about? Power, prestige, pride, dissension. This is all the things, like, who do you think's the author of all that?
Yeah.
exactly.
That's why we don't have a group anymore. We are a ministry that we have affiliates, but it's like it was just easier, because whenever we tried to have a group, it never worked out.
No.
For all those same reasons.
Oh, yeah. It's hard enough to keep a band together, but, when you have a bunch of people, as my wife used the term, unequally yoked, and until I, met her, I didn't realize how powerful that is to be with someone of equal yoke, such as me and my wife, or the opposite of being someone who's off balance,
right,
where they can drag you down and drag you to court. A lot of that going on, too, with husband and wife splitting up, and the guy who doesn't want to split up,
oh, yeah,
way too much of that.
Yep.
That's disturbing because of what it can do.
And I think, that's one of the reasons, the strongest reasons you put together the Christian Demonologist, is because there was a lot of misunderstandings about the term demonologist. There was a lot of other interest from, the variety of Protestant groups that wanted to truly learn more and be more where they were, and we're encouraging them, as you said, in their own spiritual warrior sense, as being, prayer warriors, support teams, that sort of thing. We're not encouraging people to be exorcists. We're not encouraging people, to be demonologists. We tell them to run. If you think you're going to call, you need to leave the room now, okay? Go away as far as you can.
Well, that's like, and I say the same thing. I'm not an exorcist. I have not been appointed as an exorcist. And it's not something I'm running to. If it happens by God's will, that's fine.
Yes.
But you know what? Seeing what I'm seeing, I have no problem handing it over to somebody more competent right now. It's not a prestigious title.
Bob, you're in the trenches, and you, Father Bob, we tend to do the legwork, and where we put our skill and our knowledge, and let the Holy Spirit work on the police analysis of the case, identifying and helping and advising them for self-help. But typically, it's to assist in an exorcism is kind of like different than what we seek to achieve in our ministry. If we had to, yes, we would do it.
Right.
And, when we're called to do it, we will do it. But, we know that there's an energy draw. It's actually probably, if we did that, you have to kind of fight a little bit harder when you got in such proximity. Something about possessions.
Oh, yeah.
That seemed to step it up a notch.
Yeah.
I heard...
We let the plumbers plumb and the painters paint, as Mike Keenan, the hockey coach, used to say.
Yeah.
Because the deliverance team is quite another matter altogether. Whether we get everything done before we go into the post, and we invite and give them, tell them how to get their lives back on track and what prayers to say to keep it away. But to be present during the exorcism, for example, if we're ever called to do it, and but for the most part, we don't usually attend that sort of thing because of the nature of it. It is so draining, and it can affect our ministry
and your personal life.
How busy we are.
Exactly.
I remember hearing a priest say at one point, an exorcist, that every time you do an exorcism, the priest loses a little bit of himself.
Right.
Because of what he goes through, because what it takes out of him. That's not a glamorous thing. When you watch The Rite and Anthony Hopkins, how beautiful he played that, he seems to be kind of like ostracized, like very ostracized on his own. That's how it is. You're going to be, people are going to look at you differently. Brother priests are going to look at you differently. It's a chosen calling that is not glamorous by any means.
That,
well, it's like even Father Lambert was saying that, he didn't choose this. His bishop chose him because nobody else would do it.
Right.
And he never realized how alone he would feel. Because, it's like, I can't imagine being a priest. It would be something so special, but you walk down the hall and all the other priests look away.
Yeah.
You're not there. It's like, oh my gosh, you're ostracized. Your label is just...
You're misunderstood.
I can't understand how lonely, it's got to be. And I understand why priests don't come out like Father Lambert too and talk about it, and you, Father Bailey, because you're not popular. You're besieged by every form of mental, immoral, irregular, possessed. You're just inundated with everything and everybody coming at you.
Yeah. I think in your book, The Catholic Demonologist, you made a couple of good points also, a warning for people. And I think it goes with what we're talking about, how, and the way you put it, life is going to change. And that's absolutely true. I mean, no matter, even if you're just dealing with infestation or oppression, the retaliation, what you're going to deal with, your family, it's all going to change, and people that want to do this sort of thing need to know that also. And I thought that was great that was in there, It's not just writing about what's going on, but you're giving a warning to people who are reading it to what to expect.
Right. And the person himself has to be a balanced person. I mean, they can't be so much that they're into demonology 24/7. They need outlets. They need to know when to take time away, take time for themselves, take time with, and to balance their life, or else it can be an all-consuming thing. Yeah. And you see some Christians like that, they go from one prayer group to another every day. What happens with their families? They suffer. It can be an all-consuming thing if you don't have balance in your life.
I think we talked about that earlier, Ken, when we talked about balance, and I said I had to find mine also, because when I started this, everything was about doing the PWSM ministry and the spiritual warfare, and I burned myself out, and you have to find that balance.
Oh, definitely, and that balance is something you might take a while before you do, because some people have a stronger faith. I think, really, after what I went through with custody and divorce, I got married in a Justice of Peace church, the church of the government, with my ex-wife, and went through kind of a really bad time with custody, and it was very painful. And so when I met my wife, I really needed her spirituality to bring me back up, her cheerfulness, her faith. So I had to build my faith back up again, Not that I didn't have faith. God was doing things well. And it was just that she was, such a light at the time, and I needed that in my life. And that level of faith can vary between individuals. I need to go to Mass more whenever I have drops in faith, because sometimes hardships and misfortunes drop you down. So I'll have to go to Mass or go to confession, try to use the sacraments to build myself back up. So for each person, they might have to find their own formula. But for me, going to Mass during the week, because we're self-employed, we go to morning Mass and Sunday Mass, but it ends up being about 5 times a week. And we go to the Blessed Sacrament. My wife spends time in the Blessed Sacrament also. And the daily rosaries, me and the kids, for example. And that works well for us. And I put something up a few weeks ago on our Facebook page, which is Kenneth Farah Rose Deel. Farah Rose, run together is one word, and Deel, D-E-E-L. And we have some groups and so forth on there, which we'll get to in a minute. And there was the talk about how people with their faith. I just lost my train of thought.
Don't feel bad. That happens to me.
I'll complete it for you, because this is one of the things we had to include in the next book that was very important.
Okay,
it was an analogy that we wanted to express to people. Okay, so you say you want to be a demonologist, you want to be on a prayer team, you want to do this. You have to realize that the level of relationship that you are willing to have with your source, your God, your Christ, is going to determine your protection level when you step out and you say you're doing something in His name. So if you feed your body 3 times a day, what else had you better be doing 3 times a day? Right. You better be getting in right relationship. That's all I got to say.
Amen.
And that was an important part of telling people, okay, you want to say, oh, yeah, I'm putting my armor of God on, and then you don't talk to God the rest of the day. Or you don't pray tomorrow or the next day. But you've got a case, at the end of the week, and then, oh, well, maybe I better hurry up and just go to church that day.
Right.
And you've left 30 days unprotected. Would you fast for that long and then go run a marathon? I think not.
Yeah. I couldn't.
That was an important part.
But I think one of the things
the meat and the potatoes of it was that I said that your life should be relatively normal. Even though you're doing this work, if you're doing enough prayers, that should be your meter. Try to bring it to 0. It should be at 0. It shouldn't be minus where there's hardships and misfortunes and shadows. You're going to get those sometimes before a case just because God's letting you know this case is real. They used to do that with, Lorraine used to tell stories about that. Ed would be woken up by something, and that happened all the way back at the Amityville. He was up late, got visited by a black conical whirlwind-looking being before the Amityville.
I remember her telling us that.
Yeah, but your life should be normal. It shouldn't be full of chaos. Your spouses shouldn't be breaking up with you, and your kids going into all sorts of negative changes. You should have a normal and peaceful life if you're praying enough when you're doing this work. But you have to pray a lot more, and you have to do a lot more spiritual things to keep it that way when you're doing this work.
Yeah. I think one of the things
you say in the book, too, is you tell people that once they've experienced this, you can't go back to not praying.
Right.
And pretending God doesn't exist. You can't go back there.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that both of you, that you have mentioned in your own life is the Eucharist, whether it be receiving communion, going to Mass, the Holy Mass, or adoration, the Rosary. For us as Catholic Christians, the best antidote, the most powerful antidote that we have are the sacraments. A good confession, to receive the Holy Eucharist, to pray the Rosary. These are, what I try to tell people who are Catholic and feel that they have things going on. If you're doing this, that's the best antidote. We can give you all the prayers we want, but nothing is more powerful than that. In reading Holy Scripture, there's nothing more powerful than doing those things. And if you're doing those things, and more things are happening, well, then we got to explore, what else it could be. But I think it's so right on. For us, there's, the answer is easy, and people don't want to accept it. The Eucharist.
Yep. You're right, they don't. They really don't want to accept it. And what we see more and more of is, especially, even within our own faith, is that, you have a lot of people that, they go to Mass once a week or once a month or, maybe a couple times, and maybe they go to confession once a year if they remember it. And they've gotten away from, the grace of the beauty of the structure of what upholds their faith and their grace that they've received.
Right.
And they lose sight of the fact that from the minute they walk in the church, every step they take is preparing them to clean their heart and confess their sins before the blessing, before the transubstantiation, and then to come in perfect communion so that they are greater than they were when they came in. Absolutely. And they're ready to go spread that happiness and joy among everyone they come in contact with. We've lost that for some reason or another for the majority of people, and Ken and I are trying to show people that, it's possible. It's possible to do this daily, not just once a week or once a month.
Right.
It's possible to have that joy.
Yeah.
Now, the book that you have written about the haunting self-help guide, I'm very interested in that. I have not seen that one yet. No. Could you tell us a little bit about what the breakup of that is?
That was this started as a pamphlet, one of those trifold things that we're going to leave in the back of church.
Right.
And I realized that I gave that "Are you haunted?" question in there, and I told them that this is and that, but I didn't give them direct solutions. So I thought, well, I'll come up with a pamphlet. Well, then that pamphlet evolves to a smaller size book, which is about half the size of the Catholic Demonologist Handbook. But it ended up growing 25 pages when my wife went over and added her special touch to it and her expertise. And so now we're down to 145 pages.
Ooh.
And we wanted it to be smaller so we could sell it cheaper and about $17.95 instead of $24.95. And it's for the person who wants to use all the solutions, the prayers, and I say it's for all denominations, but it's going to outline the Catholic stuff in there too. And remember how universal holy water's gotten? I tried to outline in the Catholic Demonologist Handbook and the Christian that holy water is significant. The Curling camera shows that after holy or regular water's been blessed, that you can actually see a bigger aura, around it. And I said, well, science has proven that blessed water is significant. So people start to pay attention to those kind of things, luckily, and maybe, we'll have more people like Keith Johnson, who's non-denominational because he uses what works.
Right,
and one of them.
And I've seen it in a couple of mainline Christian ministers who have asked for the blessing of holy water at times, and so I said, that's great, you're a ministry, you're ordained, for your people, bless water, it's great. It reminds us of our baptism.
I think the book, for the most part, is a self-help book from start to finish, but it's not telling you how to diagnose the problem, like the Catholic Demonologist Handbook, for example. It's telling you what to do when you already know you have a problem and where to go from there with it all the way to the end and keeping it in check and, at bay so it doesn't come back again. And that's what we hope to achieve in that. Anything to add to that, dear?
No, I think that it's an excellent short version of, okay, so, you got a cockroach infestation, you got to do this and that and this. And no, you can't pretend that the cockroaches are never going to come back. You still have to use this and this and this so the cockroaches don't come back. There's no two ways about it. It's like you said earlier, once, what he wrote in the book, once you're exposed to this, your life has changed forever and ever. And no matter what level of prayer works for you, you have to have a level of prayer that keeps you in a relationship in order to keep the boogies away.
So
that's for sure.
This book is more of dealing with the negative spirits then, for the self-help guide? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I do have that brief section in there again, though, just to tell them that if it's I gave them I think it's a St. Gertrude prayer. It's a 9-day novena. And I tell them to pray the Chapel of Divine Mercy for the Spirit, and those are very powerful.
Absolutely.
And then that's about it, because purgatory ghosts are easy to get rid of, even the ones that lived there for 100 years. If people would just focus their prayers on the Spirit, and you have a ghost, you have a Civil War widow.
I think the most important thing that you pointed out, Ken, was that, benign spirit like a purgatory spirit or something that is just absolutely a neutral isn't going to come, scaring them, sniveling at them, isn't going to make them feel afraid, isn't going to make them loud noises to where, you're just absolutely freaked out what's in the house. It is not going to be a problem. So, yes, this is negative infestation. This is negative energy. This is, definitely demonic in nature that we're dealing with. And
what we call problem hauntings. And when it becomes a problem. Because a lot of people are amused even when it's a demonic spirit at first, and that's probably part of the problem in itself of getting worse, allowing it to get worse.
Right.
I'm sure you gentlemen have experienced that, and Father.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had an interesting one. Well, it was a negative spirit but I think it was in the basement of the house. It wasn't a human spirit, but it wasn't demonic either. Do you remember that? It was. I can't think of the name right now.
A damn spirit?
It wasn't a damn
well, it was
spirit.
That's human too.
Yeah, it was elemental.
Oh, an elemental, yes.
That's what it was. The one the first time I think we had dealt with something like that.
Yeah, that's all new territory to me.
Yeah.
What the elemental is, and
now, have you guys heard or know much about that form of spirit?
In the book, I narrowed it down because I just said there's human, inhuman, evil or good. There's not really shades of gray in the afterlife. You're either destined for heaven or you're already in the hell, more or less with the devil and the minions of Satan.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of narrowed it down that there's different types of spirits, and we can classify every single one of them, and there's different water spirits and so forth. But all we really care about is if it's evil or good.
Exactly.
The water spirit, then it's an angel. Because you're not going to be a human and then you die, and just because you like to go swimming, you're suddenly a water spirit.
Yeah.
You might be haunting a lake because you drowned in it.
Yeah.
So we just figured if it's going to be a water spirit, it could have been one of those pagan ones that were conjured up, through rituals of some sort, and they might not be negative in the way they behave and act, but they're still minions of the devil because we don't conjure up angels.
Right.
And if they are nice and they've done some favors, or they might have pulled you out of the lake or something like that, that's just a person's counter opinion. It might not even be related.
Yeah. And it could be the guardian angel.
Yeah.
Whom which is a gift from God. We don't have to conjure them.
Yeah.
That's a gift given to us by God.
And we also know that when dealing with something demonic, that it will do good things in the beginning to try and manipulate. So,
Right.
And then things
that's
turn
why
very
we got
foul.
so many psychics out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to confuse you more.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You think it's Aunt Bonnie and it's really Beelzebub.
Yeah. That's always been a good question too, because we've had heard of some cases where they're like, all right, well, I'm getting the sense that there's a little child here, and we also all know that how does the demonic present itself many times as a child. So that's it's a good question.
Annabelle even.
Yeah. Perfect example.
And again, because someone will pick that up through sensitivity or whatever, it doesn't mean that it can't fool them either.
Yeah.
Just like it can fool any of us. So that's why you got to really take those things, and put them in proper perspective.
Yeah, and the bubble bursting moment is for all the UFO enthusiasts out there. Yes, they like to masquerade as UFO aliens, aka Greys, in the same manner that they show up as shadows and paralyzing and telepathic communication. 3 a.m. visits, evil feeling, evil presence in a room, all of that kind of stuff. Is that we always suspect when we hear UFO visits, it's demonic in nature first, because I don't even know if there has been a real case of that sort of thing. Even if there is outer space beings out there, we'll keep an open mind on it. I doubt they look like monsters. If God made us in His image, why would He give monsters technology and not us?
Yeah, good point.
Okay, I've always told people, okay, God is an outer space dude. Are you going to run from God? I think not.
Right.
Okay, God is not here to frighten you. He's not here to stick probes in you. If He wanted to do that, He would have done that years ago.
And neither do angels.
Yeah.
Precisely, exactly. And, just to address your question earlier about elementals, neither Ken or I have written about any of that stuff, mainly because, and this is our cautionary thing, there are many people that are very susceptible to just about any suggestion, any idea, and they want to read into it and look for historical evidence that will support, such as, the speaking of the golem that will take, 107,000 years for all these Jewish men lined up to create an entity called the golem that supposedly helped Solomon build his temple. Well, talking about entities that are specifically spiritual, that are not necessarily good or bad, in our opinion, kind of confuses people more than they already are confused.
Right.
So we kind of just stick to, what people need to know, what they need help with their lives.
Right.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Oh, wonderful. I hate to say it, but we are up against the clock again already. See how fast this goes?
Wow.
We're definitely going to have to...
Website out there.
Oh yes, well I just want to say this, that we highly at PWSM endorse and highly recommend the Deel's books, all of them, the Catholic Demonologist, the workbooks, the Christian Demonologist, the Haunting book, and whatever they come up with, because it's it's the stuff that's in
very
there.
well written.
It's very well written from a Christian perspective, from a Catholic perspective, and it's all solid stuff. And I feel very confident in recommending these books to anyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But if they want to purchase,
we really appreciate it.
right? If they want to find these books, where can they go?
Okay, you can go CatholicDemonologist.com, www.CatholicDemonologist.com. And if you go there, there's the buy now links. I'm going to change it to cart because people have been buying 2 books or more at a time because there's a workbook and study guides, which are companion guides for each one of the first 2 books that we put out. And we personally sign the ones you buy from the site. So make sure that, you mention your name if it's different than the one that's on the shipping label that you want it to be signed to, like if it's for a nephew or a relative of some sort, so we sign it properly.
Right.
And we have a CD and so forth. But all our books will be put on there. And you can buy them at other places and so forth, but that's the only place you're going to get them signed if you buy them from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or something. No, we don't sign them anyway,
Right.
unless you catch us signing them in the store.
Okay.
Very good.
And did you have any other
Thank you.
website that you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah, swordsofstmichael.org in process. And when we get it up, we can put our affiliates up there, such as yourself, and share some logos and banners and so forth. Banners, that hasn't been done in a long time.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even know how to do those. I haven't graduated to that yet.
We can get you a logo. We'll definitely get you a logo.
Well, thank you again. It has been wonderful. This is another new a new venture for Confronting the Doctors, is having actual interviews on the phone where we can't speak to them, in person, that we have this medium.
Yeah, this worked out very well.
And thank you, and I'm sure that our audience has gotten a lot of great information from this.
Absolutely.
And remember...
Thank you. God bless.
God bless, and take care, both of you.
You too. And remember, when confronting the darkness,
put on the whole armor of God
with the sword of St. Michael. God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless.
God bless you. Good night.
Good night.